House event organized by the Surfaces and Biomaterials Foundation in collaboration with Elkem and Verily Life Sciences as our sponsors and collaborators in putting together today's program. I hope that whether you're watching this live or on the recording, you're having a wonderful day. And we invite you to interact with this session as thoroughly as you wish. We do invite questions, even if you are watching on the recording, to come on in and we will get those answered at a later time. And so I'd like to welcome you all to our event. And we have a few really exciting things coming up this year that I just wanted to let the community know about. And so right now we're attending our open house, which maybe next year will actually be in person. As we enter into our summer season, our next edition of Surfax will be coming out in August, and our call for submissions is still open. So if you have some awesome research that you would like to share, please do submit an article or an advertisement. In addition, we're actively planning our conference, our annual workshop and symposium, which will be hosted this year in the month of September, still virtual for this year, but I promise fully entertaining and full of nourishing science and technological developments. Our call for abstracts for student pitches will be opening at the end of this month, and we have closed the call for abstracts for the conference itself. However, if you have some super compelling breakthroughs that you would like to share, reach out to me, let me know, and we will see how we can work you into this year or next year, or perhaps with a cool feature in our Surfax. I would like to now hand over to Ingrid to give a quick demo of our Surfaces and Biomaterials app, and then we can move on to introducing our sponsors and our first speaker. I'm not sure if Ingrid.
I'll join in a second.
Oh, okay. So while we wait for Ingrid, I can hop ahead. Oh, are you going? Yeah.
Just a few buttons I have to hit, I'm sorry, to get this together. And let me share my screen right now.
Thank you.
Okay, I think you guys can see my screen now. We are excited for Surfaces and Biomaterials Foundation. We have an app that you can go ahead and download on your phone, and you can also view it on your desktop computer. To reach this app, you can go to our homepage, surfaces.org, and you will see a little image that says download the SIBF app today. You can also go to membership and click on download the Surfaces and Biomaterials Foundation app. The one thing, if you have a smartphone, you can go ahead and click here to download the mobile app, and there it gives you two buttons, one for the Apple Store and one for Google Play. And if you do that from your phone, you'll be able to download it, load it up, and then you'll be able to log in. On the phone, you'll see we have communities. Now, if you attended Biointerface 2020 last year, you'll be able to see that. And pretty soon you'll be able to see Biointerface 2021 if you register for that. And so what you want to click on right now is communities on your phone. This is, if you click on the web app, this is what appears on your desktop. Go ahead and enter your email. If you are a member, I highly recommend you entering your member email that you use to sign up. If you're a supporting member with a company and are not sure which email, you can always email us at info@surfaces.org, and we can help walk you through and get you in. And on this app, members have full access to everything, but I just wanted to walk you through real quick. On the left, you'll see the home button and the welcome guide. There's a place where you can click on to learn a little more about the app, how to use it, how to create a profile, and all that information. On the left-hand side as well, you will see connections. There you can do personal connections, one-on-one with people and reach out to them, as well as text with the messages on the left-hand side. So that's the beginning part of the web app. We also have announcements. So if you were on Biointerface 2020, you probably saw an announcement saying the open house is starting this Thursday. Community wall here, this is just like Instagram, Facebook, any social media, post your photos, if you did something fun with anyone in the group with surfaces and biomaterials, go ahead and post it. This is where you are able to share everything you would like. Then we have the network and chat, and the same thing where you want to message, text the group. This is where you go ahead and do that. We have the follow us to show you all our social media. We have the LinkedIn group and the LinkedIn page. And then also you will have see all the members. So on here, you can see Tamara and myself. We have our photos. And if you click on us, you'll be able to go ahead and see all the information about us within the one profile page. So that's where you go ahead and do that. And I just lost. There's also resources by members. So if there's any blogs that you like, anything you want to share, this is the place where you can go ahead and do that. And then also you'll see on the left-hand side the arrows with Surfax, supporting members, app guide. Those arrows mean if you click on it, you'll be directed directly to our website. And then you can see all the Surfax and that. And you'll need to just go back into the app if you want to go back to this location. So once again, if you need it, go to www.surfaces.org or email us at info@surfaces.org. And I will stop this and you can then go ahead, Angie.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Ingrid. So I think our biggest message to the community is that we're working really, really hard on finding foundational new ways to enhance connectivity and ensure that we are getting the conversations going that will really help to empower and create collaborative opportunities. And this is everything from mentoring to networking, new job opportunities, new invention areas. So please use all of these resources. If you ever have any issues, reach out. So as we move on to focusing on today, we'd like to spend a moment just acknowledging each of our sponsors. So these are our sponsors, Elkem and Verily, who have helped to put on today's event. We are still looking for sponsorships for the full workshop and symposium, which will be in September. And if you see a session that really fits your company that you would like to bring in a sponsorship, we would fully appreciate you helping this foundation continue on in its livelihood. So Elkem is one of the world's leading fully integrated silicone companies and offers a full range of medical grade silicones, including biomedical solutions for long-term implantable and drug delivery applications. Elkem's Silabone Bione brand silicones are manufactured in a state-of-the-art clean manufacturing facility and designed to meet customers' biocompatibility, quality, and lot-to-lot consistency needs. So a really foundational group within the biomedical field. And we will have the pleasure of listening to Michael later on in today's program, telling us about some of the really unique opportunities that they have found during this past year. In addition, Verily is sponsoring today. So Verily Life Sciences is a subsidiary of the Alphabet umbrella, and they live at the intersection of technology, data science, and healthcare. They thrive on the mission to make the world's health data useful so that people can enjoy healthier lives. And they are working on developing tools to collect and organize health data, and then creating interventions and platforms to put those insights derived from health data to use for a more holistic care management plan. So they have 3 guiding product design principles: start with the user, simplify care, and lead on security and privacy. So a little bit of a different field, working on complexity in more of a software space. Now I'd like to introduce our first speaker of today. I'm very, very excited to introduce you to Tony Eisenhut. He joined us last year as a member listening into the open house, submitted a fantastic article about their cutting edge research to our Surfax over the past summer, and will speak to us today about work done by Novasterilis. So Tony co-founded the Kenza Group in 2000 based on the belief that disruptive startups only flourish if operational excellence, market knowledge, and scientific rigor exist in an ecosystem that uniquely amplifies the critical interactions of these driving forces. The Kenza Group conceptualizes, creates, launches and operates university-derived technology startups. And Tony has launched over 8 startups, including Novasterilis Incorporated, since graduating from Cornell. And he has had several leadership roles, including CEO of multiple technology companies, CEO of a mid-market manufacturer, as well as VP of a multi-billion-dollar retailer. In 2018, he returned to Novasterilis to expand the commercial applications and help the technology achieve its full potential of improving medical outcomes. Tony has served on several boards, including iFiber, LLC, Novomer Inc., and Cayuga Health Systems. Beyond family, Tony's extracurricular passion is hockey. He has coached girls hockey for over 20 years and is the color commentator for Cornell men's hockey, which is definitely an event to not miss, especially if you happen to be in gorgeous Ithaca. So with full honor and excitement, I'd like to hand over to Tony to tell us about his adventures, envisioning what he learned from the pandemic as we work on back to better.
Appreciate it, Angie. Thank you. And that was a nice introduction. Record that, send it to my grandmother. That was very nice. Thank you. So appreciate it. Yeah. I'm going to get the screen share going here. I think Ingrid taught me everything I'm supposed to know, so hopefully I did it right. Can you see my screen?
It looks great.
Awesome. Thanks, Ingrid. You trained one man, so God bless you. All right. So really appreciate the opportunity to be part of the presentation and get together today. My goal is to make this valuable for you. We've all got a lot going on in our lives, so spending some time with us this afternoon, I want it to be productive, informative, and most importantly, you know, answer the questions that you may have based on our sharing. So I'm going to provide enough information, hopefully, to stimulate some thoughts and share about our experiences. And I'll be more than glad to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. So okay, let's see how we do here. There we go. For us, the most important takeaway from the pandemic has really been that no two experiences have been the same. Sure, there's a lot of similarities and circumstances between people and situations, but once you get to the granular level where things really matter, what we found is that no two experiences were the same. And from a business perspective, this is, you know, our people are critical. And so foundationally, you know, our belief is that the success of a business, or any enterprise for that matter, is really rooted in the collective efforts of the team members and how those individuals and team members are organized, and whether it be purposefully or through random self-assembly, that organization is really critical to the outputs. And what we learned through the pandemic at a high level was the pandemic brought to light a number of stresses that existed in people's lives, our team members' lives, prior to the pandemic and what they were facing. And so this realization during this period led us to the mantra, and it's the title of the talk, that we don't want to get back to better, or we don't want to get back to normal. We really want to get back to better. We want to learn from the past. We listened, we observed, we shared with our team members, you know, what is it that our customers were expecting, and then started on a process of how could we incorporate experiences that we had during the pandemic, like flex presence, fewer phone calls and emails, which obviously are interruptions, a singular focus of efforts and energy, an unusual level of coworker support, an unusual level of coworker acceptance. How could we incorporate those realities and learnings into our workflow and provide a higher quality product and do it in a more efficient manner for our customers? And for us, there was no, you know, navel gazing. It wasn't an academic thought exercise. We were an essential business. We stayed open. You know, at the height of the pandemic, when we had teams of people in New York City hospitals in April, May, and June of 2020, living that experience firsthand as we were trying to help solve problems. And it's these realities that forced us to make a choice. And we were either going to weather the storm or we were going to pivot and build a new management system for our business. Historically, our mantra relative to employees is we want to hire intelligent, caring, demanding people who are willing to grow in their knowledge over time to further, their personal satisfaction development, as well as the efforts and goals of the company. And now what we learned is that we still want to keep those fundamental characteristics, but we want to provide an organization that builds upon people's resilience, their grittiness, and their inventive capabilities. And so, this is the foundation of our learnings, or these are the essential fundamentals of the learnings. But before I get into it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our technology and just give you some background about our platform and our business. Our sterilization modality is a supercritical carbon dioxide centric sterilization process. We've gained a fair bit of notoriety over the last couple of years, but it's, the byproduct, or the notoriety, is the result of 20 years of effort at Novasterilis and over 50 years of using supercritical CO2 in a variety of industrial applications. Understanding the fundamentals of supercritical CO2 sterilization may help some of you think about the applicability to your materials and the world that you live in. So at relatively low temperature and pressure, 74 atmospheres, 31 C, supercritical CO2 can be achieved. And in this state, carbon dioxide has the density of a liquid, but it has the diffusivity characteristics of a gas. And it's these attributes that allow for a really deep and interactive penetration of the fluid to make supercritical CO2 an effective sterilization medium. And if you just look at this slide in the lower right-hand corner, you can see two cortical bone rings. Those were whole bone rings. The one on the left was soaked in a red dye for 16 hours. The one on the right was exposed to supercritical CO2 in the presence of the dye for 1 hour. And what you can see is there's a full depth and uniformity of deposition of the dye throughout the cortical bone ring when it was cut in half. And so it's this penetrating nature and this capability that allows devices that are of complex configurations or packaging solutions that are very torturous paths to be high probability terminal sterilization candidates for CO2. CO2 is an inert gas, but for us to be able to achieve FDA levels of sterility, we have to use an entrainer, an oxidative entrainer. It's a peracetic acid-based additive. There is a synergistic effect. Less than 0.02% by weight of the sterilization solution is made up of the additive. And it's because of this that we really have a minimally reactive sterilization modality. You look at the breadth, both natural and synthetic polymers are compatible, as well as some biologics. We've done a bunch of work sterilizing proteins. But one of the interesting things is that not only in terminal packaging, but we can sterilize materials in different states, whether it be lyophilized, hydrated, submerged, or liquid state. We can terminally sterilize to FDA levels of sterilization. Now, I focus on sterilization. There are some other applications that we've developed over the years, whether it be in cleaning, impregnating bioactives, or functionalizing surfaces using supercritical CO2. But we have stayed focused on the therapeutic and medical device areas. From a business standpoint, as I said, we've been in business for about 20 years developing the technology. 13 of those years have been commercial. Launch markets, tissue banking was the first market, primarily because we could be into a medical arena without getting an FDA approval. So it was a way for us to get into the healthcare market in a cost-effective way. But since then, we've validated market opportunities in the biopharma, life sciences, food, and most recently in the PPP equipment arena. Multiple regulatory approvals in different places in the world, Australia, the US. We did get an EUA for decontamination of N95 respirators, and we were selected as one of the challenge grant recipients by the FDA in 2019. We're based in Ithaca, New York. I will tell you that, it's a sterilization modality most people haven't heard of, but, over the last decade plus, there have been over 300,000 surgeries completed using supercritical CO2 or our sterilization modality, sterilizing products that are used in those surgeries. Clearly, if you want a lot more detail, check out the website because we've got a lot of detail there. But getting back to the topic of this meeting, on March 16th, we had our first date with the pandemic. It was on that date that we decided we're going to perform a proof of concept test. There'd been enough information in the news to see what the ability of our process was to sterilize N95 respirators. And so we scrounged up some N95s and we ran them, and we were able to test and successfully show that we were able to terminally sterilize. And at that point, we were using our challenge bacterial endospores to prove sterility. And at first, if I'm being honest, at that point, we had really thought we had done enough because, we did some work, it was in the news, we were going to publish a white paper on a current event, and really didn't think about taking it any further. We just were kind of thinking about hunkering down because we didn't believe that the concept of reprocessing a disposable consumable that costs 40 cents each was a long-term business proposition. And in the end, we were right. But what we didn't appreciate was the magnitude of the pandemic on our world and what our world was going to experience. Previously, I'd run a diagnostic company, and it was a molecular diagnostic company, and we lived through the avian influenza and swine flu pandemics. And these were globally impactful, but really here at the US, it never really smacked us in the face like it did other places. And because of that, I think our guard or our perceptions were just wrong. And so, this reality plus the fact we were going through an M&A, we were in the process of being acquired, and we had a closing date set for the end of March. It just wasn't a priority. But on March 22nd, so two of our scientific advisors, Bruce Ganem and Jeff Coates, both at Cornell, reached out to us because they wanted to know about our ability. They had both been contacted by Cornell Weill to help with an evaluation of using ethylene oxide to reprocess 95 masks. And that's where it really struck us that if people are so dire and the need is so great that they're willing to put an ethylene oxide process mask on their face to protect them from, what was going on, that that's a bad solution. And so we decided that we needed to move and take some action. And how could we help? What could we do to help, our Cornell, affiliates and brethren weather this storm? We did know it was going to be a temporary need, or we believed it was going to be a temporary need. So at this point, we're kind of faced with our first decision. We're going to jump in and help. We're going to offer them insight and guidance. And if they end up saying that they want to go with our process, what's the business model? Are we going to do what a lot of other people decided to do during the pandemic? Price gouge, bluntly and candidly, or were we going to take the high road? And ultimately, we decided to take the high road. And our position was we were not going to sell units that we could have sold and forced, and we were just going to rent them month to month during the term of the pandemic, or as long as they needed them. And we were going to do it at a price point where we just didn't lose money. And ultimately, this decision in that moment in time turned out to be not only personally fulfilling and what I think is the right decision, it was a great business decision because it endeared us to some future stakeholders and partners where we've been able to get a tremendous amount of information, a tremendous amount of feedback that have really been important in us furthering our business and growing our business. So on Saturday, the 22nd, we faced this monumental challenge. We're a small company. We didn't have the people. At that point, we hadn't had us personally, a regulatory approval on our device. And we really didn't have application knowledge necessary to meet the need. We're an industrial sterilization supplier, not a healthcare sterilization supplier. So at this point, we really learned a ton about the DNA of our company. As I mentioned previously, we were in the throes of a merger, and that merger partner or that acquirer was iFiber, and they're a preclinical CRO. We came together over that weekend, and really we operationally reinvented ourselves and came up with the concept that we were going to embed a team from iFiber, 7 people at Novasterilis. They weren't only going to be support, but they were also going to provide leadership. They were going to lead activities in our business that they had knowledge of so that we could be more efficient, because we had to run tests and gather data for an EUA submission. And it was in areas that neither organization had done before: NIOSH testing, port account testing, ultimately testing on SARS-CoV-2 with a partner in Buffalo. And even sourcing N95 respirators by the 22nd was next near to impossible. And how were we going to do that? And if you had said to a group of people, if today you looked at it and said, we're going to take 12 people who don't have any experience, they're smart, they care, they're demanding, and we're going to see if we can get them to put a plan together, assemble the data, draft an EUA application for the FDA and submit it, you'd say it's a tall order. To say we need to do it in less than 30 days, someone would tell you to check your mental stability. And ultimately, from proof of concept on the 16th to our submission on April 11th, the day before Easter, we were able to get that done, and proud of the fact that the FDA ultimately started using our submittal as an example for other device companies of what they should be submitting because of the quality of that document, which was led by Devin Craven over at iFiber. She did a great job with it. And from that point forward, we were in touch with the FDA from middle of April through the middle of August, 3 to 7 days a week, depending on what stage they were at in the review. And while this was going on and we were working on that part, we didn't have an inventory of machines. Our machines are kind of one-off, custom built for the application. So we had an engineer who was working with our team, some furloughed electricians from Cornell. We brought them to bear on the opportunity, and we had 4 units in New York City by the end of April. And again, as I said, we were working in those hospitals on site, training, testing, developing comfort levels with nurses, that this was an alternative that would preserve their personal health throughout the months of April, May, and June. So, as we look at what that experience was, the amount of value that we created for all of our stakeholders, whether it be shareholders, employees, customers, vendors. It was really the byproduct. The value was the byproduct of disruptive thinking. And I want to be real clear when I talk about disruptive thinking that yes, invention was part of disruptive thinking, but invention alone was not the primary value creator. Invention in the context of operational implementation, supply chain management, end user usability, these were all equal contributors to the disruptive thinking work product we were able to produce. We learned that through this process that disruptive thinking requires adrenaline, and adrenaline, I think as we all know, is best utilized in short spurts or sprints, not over a long period of time. If you run on adrenaline too long, it becomes very unhealthy. But in the short term, it can be hugely helpful and beneficial. Oh, go to the next slide. Thanks. I got someone watching here who's coaching me as we go along. So thanks, Cody. So the context of, from an adrenaline perspective and operating in these sprints is really something that's measured in days and weeks, not in months. There's a lot of businesses that want, or executives who think that they should get 100% from their employees 100% of the time, but we realize it's just not realistic. And so we went through this process, this disruptive thinking, we went through the sprints, and going forward, what we've said is, can we use this same concept to run our business going forward? Can we create a yearly calendar going forward around the concept of most of the year, we're going to do incremental operational improvements, but for a small period of time, we're going to do a sprint value creation that the team can focus on, and that we can have clear objectives, that we can have a defined period of execution, and we can have demonstrable outcomes. And those are the things that we think are necessary, and what we learned were really important to the success of our EUA sprint, as we now refer to it. So, this is, in that concept is going back to what we say is the, back to better path. And, Angie talked, very complimentary about the article we wrote for Surfax. There's more detail about the interactions and the workings between iFiber, Novasterilis, partners like Zeptometrics in that particular issue, which was from the summer of 2020. But we decided, in our primary learning relative to value creation, is that we've now created value creation sprint teams, and they're built around both internal and external personnel. And it's really that concept of seasons. It is stealing it from the sports world, that there's a preseason in our where we're doing some framing. There's the regular season where we're building the infrastructure we need to be ready to run this sprint, and then there's the equivalent of the playoff, where we're going to have this unrelenting execution and pursuit of a single goal. And during this time frame, the sprint team were literally getting ready to kick off our 2021 sprint, is about a single focus for the core team, and that's what they're going to work on for 30 days, just like we did on the EUA, to make a monumental change that we think will have a very positive impact for our business for years to come. And so, all of this is great, but it's all contingent upon the team and the people on the team. And we have always thought that and operated under the premise that we have some non-negotiable attributes for our team members. They need to be intelligent, they need to be caring, need to be demanding. We talk about intelligence, it's not just IQ. There's IQ, there's EQ. We call it MQ, mechanical intelligence. It's that person who may not have graduated high school, but you give them a wrench and a broken tractor and it's running. That is an intelligence. There's artistic intelligence. And so we want to have a complementary team of intelligences built around people who are caring and demanding and who are committed to growing their knowledge over a period of time. This is what our customers like. This is what we learned was the primary driver behind our success during the pandemic. And it's what we found actually at the end. We've had a very good relationship with the FDA over the past year because of these attributes and the trust we were able to develop with them. From our experience and talking about what we learned, what are the outcomes so far? For Novasterilis, we've had more exposure and awareness around our technology than at any point in the last 20 years. There's been more presentations, more partners who are doing proof of concept testing, more R&D test units that have been sold. We have a pipeline of value creation projects that have evolved that we're looking to partner on. And what we've learned through this, through the EUA, the New York City hospitals who we partnered with during the EUA, what we found is when the partner is committed, they're willing to break down the internal barriers that hold new technologies back from being accepted. And so now when we're doing a partnership model, we're looking for that level of commitment, or we're not going to bring it forward. From a iFiber perspective, the experience and changes that iFiber realized through this were even greater than Novasterilis. And since the pandemic, we've launched a new business unit at iFiber where we're offering a bit, we call it a franchise. So we have multiple franchises within the iFiber business. We've got a regulatory and quality consulting franchise. And we also created a new product offering, which we call value creation pods. So in the CRO world, RFPs, full-time equivalent contracts are the common approach to partnerships. But the EUA experience showed that embedding a team is a great way to solve problems at the time where there's a need. And so what we looked around for was, what are the right models for something like this? And one of them really came down to the university model, where you have a knowledgeable thought leader and the professor, you have a postdoc or two, you have a PhD student, you have a couple of technicians. What do people not like about the university relationship? If there's a downfall to it, it's the time scale with which it operates under, and the fact that when you have something successful, you have to actually go back and pay more and license it. So we said, what if we take these pods? We have a PI, we have the postdoc equivalent, we have a grad student equivalent, and we have a tech or two, and we make those available to our partners. And it's been a program that's been incredibly successful for iFiber. We've had 6 projects and 4 customers who have adopted this program, and it's gone very well. We're seeing great revenue growth there. And when we look at our business and what are the metrics for success, we want to keep them simple. And so as we look at these strategies, we look at employee turnover, we look at customer turnover, and then we obviously look at revenue growth. And so it's been monumental impact on both the businesses. It's been a great experience. People have developed personally and professionally. And, as we look at this experience, our ability to meet our team members where they are in their lives and structure an environment where they can excel so we can meet the needs of customers is probably our biggest takeaway. So thank you, and glad to answer any questions.
Anyone is welcome to unmute and go ahead and ask questions live, or if they want to put it into the chat. I guess no questions right now.
Well, good, Ingrid. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm just going to unmute and say a huge thank you, Tony. And I think that the your vision of the task team, that immersion concept, is really awesome. And I think my one question, maybe from the perspective of working with the FDA and having these individual teams, how much was the FDA attentive to the kind of like team members and quality that you're putting in behind technologies, or also auditing like the end to end? You were speaking about even just like the full end to end of a supply chain.
Yeah, so our experience with the FDA, I mean, I heard a lot. I will tell you, when we launched Novasterilis, like I said, we picked tissue banking so that we could avoid the FDA, bluntly. Probably not, the most altruistic of decisions, but it was a decision that we made, and I regret it, because our experience with the FDA has been fantastic, whether it be through the challenge grant or through our EUA submission. There was a genuine group of people who wanted to solve the problem. They saw the value proposition of our sterilization modality, and they saw that value proposition would extend far beyond the pandemic into the future. And so our interactions, I mean, literally, I'm sure you hear 3 to 7 times a day. You're saying, he's exaggerating, but 3 to 7 times a week. I mean, there were regular phone calls, and because we presented iFiber, we were very clear it's a separate entity, but Devin was on the calls. Aaron, the VP of R&D there, he was on the calls. The agency would have questions, what do the residuals look like? And we were sharing with them how we were testing and came up with ideas. It was a very collaborative, interactive, iterative discussion that allowed us to produce some great data in a relatively short time, and has really strengthened the relationship and our ability to pick up the phone and reach out and ask questions, even post EUA. And one of the other things we did, so we were focused on a single customer, and we told the agency that. We told the agency, we aren't selling the machines. You don't have to worry about them being in the hospital afterwards, being used for the wrong thing. We rented them. We're pulling them out when the pandemic's done. Even that little reality gave them a comfort level. But it was a very, and they provided some really good suggestions as to how we might want to overcome some of the challenges that we were facing based on questions they were asking, because they knew we would be genuine, act on it, and do so in a transparent, thoughtful way. But ultimately, we created a little problem, because we sent in, after our hospital built up their inventory, or our hospital system built up their inventory, we were pulling the units out. And so we sent them a note and said, we're withdrawing our EUA.
Oh,
you can't do that. Why not? Because we don't have a process for that. We have to terminate it. Okay, terminate. So we had a good chuckle out of it, but we knew it was going to be temporary. That was our goal. That was our objective, and it proved to be highly beneficial.
We do have another question, and thanks to Joe Chin for this question. This question is, do you intend to expand your offerings in the medical device arena, or did the FDA experience make you want to stick to less regulated applications?
Yeah, no, we're going to the FDA full bore with additional applications and uses of the system. We're in the process of developing a device master file with them. We are all in on that train right now. We're aboard for the ride. It's been, again, it's just been a positive experience. I don't, other than saying it's been positive.
There's no other questions in the chat unless
Great.
Anybody wants to, we have time for maybe one more. Excellent questions.
Actually, you know what? I have one, Tony, just out of curiosity from I mean, we deal in sterilization with our materials sometimes. How is it comparable to ETO or gamma, and what are the benefits? Or
yeah, you're on my hit list, Mike, just so you know. So I was calling you afterwards. I saw this. So that in your particular world, for the adhesives, it's been something that's been interesting. We should have a talk. So when you look at ETO, there, the whole concept of a silver bullet, one sterilization modality that's going to answer all the problems that the new materials, emerging materials are facing, or the replacement of EO, which is high on a bunch of people's list.
Yeah.
That's not the reality, right? So there's modalities, whether it's us or Noxalizer or TSO3 or Steris with vaporized hydrogen peroxide, and the four others. We all fit different niches, but in your world of some silicone adhesives, and I'm looking forward to your talk, we've done some work that would be good to collaborate on, because in some, when you're talking about needing deep penetration, low temperature, and minimally to non-reactive, we are, I'm going to argue, as good as it gets.
Interesting. Okay. And there's no degradation of the polymer, I would imagine, right?
It depends on the polymer. Again, this is the silver bullet. I wish
Okay.
I could say yes, but if we're looking at polystyrene, for example, polystyrene is problematic with our process because it penetrates so well. If you need
Gotcha.
foam, I can make polystyrene foam for you all day long. But yeah, no, it is compatible with many polymers.
Okay. I'd like to touch base sometime afterwards for sure.
Sounds great. And again, thanks everybody. Appreciate you listening and the questions.
Well, thanks. Courtney, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thank you everyone for joining. So next up, we do have Michael Goglia. He's the Healthcare Market Manager for Elkem Silicones. And his presentation today will be on Elkem Silicones' role in supporting the COVID-19 relief. Mike, do you want to share your screen?
I'm working on it now. Let's see what happens here. Okay, what do we got? Are we looking good?
Yep,
It looks good.
perfect.
All right, thanks everyone. My name's Mike Goglia, and I'm the regional market manager for Elkem Silicones medical side of the business. So I support our healthcare grade products for North and South America, based in central New Jersey, and I've been with the company 12 years now. We're going to go into just a slight overview of who Elkem Silicones is and how we play in the medical and biomedical field. And then we'll talk about some of the interesting situations that this year and last year put us in, from the pandemic, and how we've had to pivot some of our operations and continue to deal with daily changes and new surprises. So thanks everyone for joining, and feel free to ask questions as well throughout or at the end, and I'll try to answer as best as possible. Okay. So Elkem Silicones is a vertically integrated silicone manufacturer, and what that means is we own our own mines. We actually mine silicon metal. We then take that metal and convert it into different silicone polymers from there. We've been in business a little over 75 years now, originally as Rhone-Poulenc, then Rhodia, then Blue Star, and now Elkem Silicones. Many different sites throughout the world that do anything from the silicon metal, carbon, quartz, and we are the silicone side of the Elkem family. So these are our sites globally for the healthcare side of the business and the silicones portion. So anything in red there, or the York site, Corona, Italy, or Shanghai is where we produce our silicone elastomers and polymers. And then we have upstream sites in Roussillon, France, and Jingzhou, China. Those three facilities in red do have clean room capabilities, and we can do long-term implantable products out of these sites as well. It also gives us the ability to have technical support close to our customers, and sales and inventories as well. We like to have that ability to stock locally in a region, as well as provide technical support in person, and help our customers get to where they need to be. So Silbione is our trade named product for anything that goes into the healthcare industry. Silicone's inherent properties have made it a long use product in the medical space. There's high performing physical properties, the ability to be multi sterilized with many different capabilities, and it also can be made into a lot of different forms and produced in, whether it be injection molding, extrusion, casting, compression molding. So it can be produced in many different variants and allow it to go into many complex medical devices. Our materials are biocompatible and tested to ISO 10993 or Class 6 standards. We follow, depending on the plant, it's either ISO 9001 and soon to be ISO 1345. And we do have materials that are suitable for excipient grades or drug delivery products, and those have the associated drug master files with the FDA. And then our implantable Sylvium biomedical range also has master access files that our customers can reference when submitting to the FDA. So these are some of the sub-segments that we play in within the healthcare space. Our main focus today is more on the general and advanced surgery, diagnostics and monitoring, and pharma and drug delivery. The orthotics and prosthetics side, we are the leader in that space today, and there's not a lot of investment going on. Dental we see as a mature market and is being replaced by 3D imaging and other technologies today. Still a need, but obviously it's not a place of investment for us today. And this is how we break down our materials. So as I stated earlier, silicones can come in many different forms. LSR or liquid silicone rubber is probably the largest and up and coming version of silicone polymers. They can be injection molded into many different shapes, have some unique physical properties. Heat cure rubber is generally used for compression molding or extrusion of silicone tubing. We have many different adhesives, whether it be a 1-part or a 2-part system. Fast cure, slow cure, thixotropic, depending on what the needs are. We have our RTVs or room temperature cure materials, and these can be mixed by hand and casted, generally for prototyping or even a hobbyist outside of healthcare. Some of them will making our RTVs. And then we also do silicone gels and lubricants. Gels can be for cushioning or wound management, and fluids are generally used for lubrication of medical parts. So that's the quick update as to who we are and kind of how we fit into this. And now we'll go into what the pandemic did to us and where we came and where we are today. So going into March of last year, we had our last in-person meeting. It was something we do annually in March timeframe with R&D, sales, and the whole company gets together at our South Carolina facility. And everything was looking positive. We were ready to have another record year. And then a few weeks later, obviously everything broke loose and the country was shut down. We had the majority of the business units that I support on the healthcare side basically shut down overnight. All of our dental customers canceled their orders for basically the remainder of the year. People weren't going to dentists, and there was no need to have impression products. The O&P business, orthotics and prosthetics, basically shut down because patients weren't going to the doctor to get replacements. We did see that rebound in the end of 2020 as patients were trying to use up their insurance benefits, but it was a long gap in between. And the medical device market slowed down immensely also. Elective procedures had basically stopped, and the majority of our products would go into elective type procedures. And that's really come back this year. We've seen the rebound be very strong in 2021, but it was a scary time, all the way through 2020. The major change we've seen has been around pharmaceutical processing. It was very stable in 2020, but it's been a huge ramp up from Q4 2020 into where we are today in 2021, and it doesn't seem like it will stop. I think the market in general is struggling to keep up, as are we. But we're doing things to mitigate supply issues and try to get materials into our customers' hands, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on as to where that's come from. We've also had many unforeseen conditions that, as a raw materials supplier, we could not have predicted. We have a very hard time getting shipping containers from overseas. They appear to be staying in the Asia market. We have far less coming over to the States. Also, with travel being stopped, we could no longer get air shipments in a timely fashion. That's been, very tough. And if you can get one, it's extremely expensive. another unforeseen, fallback from the pandemic. We've also seen, and this goes back even pre-pandemic, but there's been many truck driver shortages. We have a hard time getting carriers, whether it be from the port or even from our factory, to deliver to our customers. And we've had to include extra days in terms of lead time. We continue to see raw material shortages outside of silicone. So whether it be steel for drums, that's been a recent issue, or a polymer that may go into one of our raw materials that's comes from overseas and maybe stop. So it's really been a challenge. The forecasting has been very important as we try to keep the plant operational. And every day brings a new challenge. Our supply chain folks, I feel for them these days. It's not an easy job, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon either, the way things have been going. We've also seen a major workforce shortage, and I see it in New Jersey as well, just in restaurants and other areas where there's help wanted signs everywhere. And we have, I want to say, 19 open positions here in the States right now for our manufacturing plant, and it's been hard to fill some of those positions as we go. So when this first kicked off, we were immediately thrown into a either complete shutdown or completely speed up with some of our products. So early on, we had some of our customers that were designing and trying to get out into the market rapid test kits, and some of these use silicone O-rings. We rapidly, I'm gonna go let the dog out, I'm sorry. Let me shut this off for 1 second here. Sorry, everyone. The kids get home from school off the bus and the dog went crazy, but I'm back. Yeah, so we had immediate needs to try to support our customers in their fight against COVID. We were able to get samples out very fast, shift some of our production to make the materials that were necessary. And within months, some of these products had hit the market, and we were able to get our materials out to support that. We also saw an increase due to the hospitalization factor of our Foley catheters. We supply silicones used for tubing, as well as the manifolds for Foley catheters. And the demand for those grew. That was unplanned, and we had to pivot some of our manufacturing operations to meet that demand. We also do produce some products that go into silicone gels for cushioning of hospital beds, as well as needleless connectors that are used for the administration of medication. The other area that was booming immediately was the ventilator tubing side. So we have several customers who extrude silicone for ventilators and the tubing side as well. And also breathing masks and cannulas are made with silicone LSR, and we had to pivot some of that manufacturing also to keep up with unforeseen demand as things were really unknown at that time, and it was really hard for our teams to produce and forecast when we didn't know whether these volumes would continue or if it was a short-term situations, similar to some of the things Tony had talked about, where they were renting machines because it was not going to be a long-term supply side. So the side of the pharmaceutical production, silicones are used in vaccine production or medication production as a single-use system. So instead of hard piping with stainless, they generally use silicone tubing, hoses, and manifolds now. Once they produce one run, they can throw or dispose of the silicone portion, and they don't have to go through a sterilization or cleaning process. It allows lot-to-lot traceability. It also greatly reduces the risk of contamination or potential issues with those lots. So as vaccine production ramped up, we were immediately thrust into an undersupply situation. We went from producing 10 tons a month to 35 tons a month very quickly, and stretched our organization's capabilities, stretched our raw material supply capabilities, and we're still dealing with this today. Virtually overnight, like I said, the demand more than doubled. And at the same time, the vaccine production specifically, they specified a product that was not as widely used. So most pharmaceutical companies today use a 50 Shore tube. It's a medium hardness silicone. And due to higher burst ratings, they all shifted to a 65 Shore A material that we make just in much smaller volumes. And the raw material mix was immediately thrown off because of that. Everybody had pivoted to this higher durometer material, and we could not get enough raws to support it initially. We've actually had to reformulate this product to meet the new demands that are out there in the marketplace. And we've done that in conjunction with our customers to ensure that we can meet the current supply demands as well as the future supply demands. It appears all of this new production in terms of vaccines will continue. Obviously, the U.S. is in a better case today, but there's plenty of other countries that are not and will continue to need the demand moving forward. There's some pictures here of our single-use, not our single-use systems, but our customers' single-use systems, and they're basically a silicone hose or tubing, and then there's other silicone molded either a manifold or a fitting. In some cases, there's stainless couplers that are on there as well. And they also were able to help with the speed of vaccine production. When you don't have that cleaning step in between, you can produce far more lots in a given time frame. So another way that we were immediately thrown in was our Elkem China facility. One of our major upstream facilities was in great need of masks. We have 1,500 to 3,000 employees, depending on the site and the location. They're many times in close quarters, and they needed PPE that we could not get. So the team almost immediately came up with a plan to start making our own. So we have another sister company within our group that actually makes molding machines. We partnered with them and got some tooling done. I had some presses put into our facility in Asia, and began producing these N95 masks for the Asia for our own internal purposes originally, and then we did assist the Chinese government with some, and were able to spread them out throughout Asia. They were not approved by the US FDA, so we did not ship any here, but it was a great short-term solution to overcome some needs that we had in our facilities there. We also saw a fair amount of demand with the mask fogging issue with glasses, right? And we saw a solution that we had in house that we produce silicone gels that are used as skin adhesives. We worked with one of our coating partners who actually takes the silicone, they coat it onto generally fabrics or films for bandages and scar management. And they decided to partner with us to make a line of strips that can go onto a mask to prevent fogging. It actually gives you a tight seal around your nose and cheeks, and they're reusable, up to a few times, and they can easily be disposed of and add another one without too much cost complexity. We rolled those. We don't actually make these ourselves. We help with the design on the raw material side, and we have partners that have these out in the marketplace today. So another critical area as things wore on was, the fact that our doctors and critical care workers were having to wear masks 8 to 14 hours a day, if not more in some cases. I know there was pictures back in the Time magazine when the pandemic first started of a doctor with just red rings around their face from having to wear the masks all day. And we have several customers actually, but one in particular that makes sleep apnea masks today. They're very comfortable in comparison to a standard N95 or other areas, and they decided to pivot into the N95 type mask and use their same technology that's used in the sleep apnea masks today. So they adapted some of our silicone gel that's actually encased in another silicone polymer. That's real soft, nice feel. It can be sterilized, wiped down, reused multiple times. And we had to adjust the formulation slightly to help them get the penetration value they needed, or the softness that they needed. And we were able to mobilize our R&D teams pretty quickly, adjust the formulation to meet what their manufacturing needs were. And within 3 months, they had product out to the marketplace. And in terms of their sales figures, they were $200,000 or $300,000 silicone purchaser for the apnea masks, and they've tripled with these new COVID masks that they have out in the marketplace. And they're really nice. I wish I could have showed some of them up here, but due to NDAs, I couldn't actually share the information. But if anyone's looking for a very comfortable mask, we can touch base afterwards. So the latest development as we've continued to develop our silicone LSR in terms our capabilities and improving our raw materials. And an NGO or a nonprofit came to us I guess it was mid-March this year, and they're looking to develop a low-cost silicone mask for the masses. The ones I had talked about previously are fairly expensive. I think they're running $120 to $149, and these guys are looking to make one for under $20 that's reusable. The silicone material price is not really something that's plays a huge part in the end cost of the product. Most of the silicone materials that are used in the healthcare space are in the same realm of pricing. So what we did find is that we can pull cost out for production time. These are big pieces of silicone that take a long while to cure. In the current situation, they were over 2 minutes to cure these parts. Big pieces, big molds, which adds a lot of complexity and cost. So around 10 years ago, we developed a system called the LSR Select. Traditional LSR systems are two-part. There's an A and B that's mixed together and then goes through a heating process to cure the silicone rubber. With the LSR Select system, we can actually change the cure kinetic on the fly and make a system that may cure in 2 minutes standardly and reduce that down and sometimes 50 to 70%. So we were able to take this 2 minute cure temperature down to, or 2 minute cure down to 1 minute. It greatly improved their cost effectiveness in the marketplace, and they're very close to launching this as we speak. We just recently sent some raw materials down there for production, and I expect to see these out in the marketplace pretty quickly. With this system, we can actually do a low temperature cure, which is a great benefit to the healthcare industry also. Lower cost plastics that have temperature issues and you couldn't overmold the silicone with in the past. We can do this with this system and cure as low as 100 C, where a standard material is generally 250 C. And this is a picture of one of our molding machines here, the LSR Select press I had talked about. And this was actually at MDM West last year. We were showcasing the product and running material there. I think that's it. That does it for me. It's just a brief snapshot of where the pandemic put us and where we continue to be and where we will go. The demand for silicone continues to be very high, and Elkem is in a good position to continue to support that.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
If there's any questions, feel free to ask over the microphone, or you can put your questions in the chat as well.
Yeah, Murphy's Law, the dog freaks out in the middle, right? When I'm speaking.
Always works out that way, right?
It seems to, yeah.
Mike, Tony here with a question. So as you look at, your path forward and working on new projects and partners, did this experience change how you look to partner and how you look to develop new products and new markets for your materials?
Yeah, for sure. And I think we truly try to be a collaborative company with our customer base. I think in the past, people were just looking to grab something off the shelf, and timing was an issue. There's still these supply shortages out there have definitely got us closer to the end customer and helping them to even pivot to where, in healthcare, everybody hates change, right? And especially in raw materials, change is bad, even if it's a better product. And I think this has put us in a position where we can be more approachable with them. We had to institute a raw material change, which is usually a complete no-no, especially for a pharmaceutical product. But given the dire situations everyone was in, it allowed us to explain the situation, improve it for them and improve it for us in the end, where we can still supply products and keep everything moving. So there's been a lot more openness, I would say, between ourselves and the customer base. And I expect that to continue. We want to be a collaborative company. The materials that were used in the past may not be the best choice. There are differing polymers coming out, new materials coming out, new methods coming out. So.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
Awesome. So I think that concludes our session for today. Ingrid, did you want to put up the other slide for closing?
Yeah, let me trying to get this to the full screen. And something. Ah, there we go.
Perfect. Awesome. So I just want to say thank you again to our sponsors and speakers for making our open house such a great event. Don't forget, we do have the Biointerface virtual conference right around the corner in September. Head over to our website at surfaces.org to submit an abstract or sign up to attend the conference. In the meantime, please feel free to check out our Surfaces and Biomaterials Foundation app for the latest updates on the conference, as well as to receive a copy of our Surfax newsletter. And there's also still time to submit an article for the summer issue if you're interested. The deadline is July 31st. And then this is just a snapshot of our board members. If you'd like to keep in touch with them, here's what they're up to this summer. And please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone.